Hello and welcome back to AWS On Air, coming at you live from the DC Summit. I'm Steve Roberts, a developer advocate for .NET and PowerShell, and in this session I'm joined by...
Brian, your friendly neighborhood CloudFormation DA.
All right, so we are going to be talking about CloudTrail Lake, so we're joined by our guests Brad and Andreas. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves, tell everyone what you do at AWS.
Hey everybody, Brad Gilliman. I'm a Global Business Development Manager for Cloud Operations.
And I'm Andres Silva. I'm an SA leader for the Cloud Operations team also.
Awesome, all right, so we are here to talk about CloudTrail Lake. So before we actually see it in action, we figure, can you tell us a little bit about what it is, how customers use it?
Sure, so CloudTrail Lake is a managed data lake that lets organizations aggregate, immutably store, and query events that are recorded by CloudTrail for auditing, security, investigations, operational troubleshooting. This new platform, what it does is it simplifies CloudTrail analysis workflows by integrating the collection, the storage, the preparation, and the optimization for analysis all inside of one product. And so what this does is it removes the need to maintain separate data processing pipelines that span across separate teams and products and just to inside of CloudTrail itself. And CloudTrail
okay, so instead of basically taking that data from CloudTrail, like putting it into S3, then ingesting somewhere else, it's all in one place.
All in one place.
All right, just simplify things,
The
great.
benefit of this, I'm assuming, is some kind of real-time data aggregation or scanning or something like that.
And the fact that it's immutable data. So we're not talking about files stored in S3 that somebody could manipulate. We're talking about a completely managed platform that the data is immutable, which is very important for auditing.
Cool, all right. So I'm kind of curious to see this in action.
Very
So
good.
can we see a demo?
Yeah, let's go to the demo then. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to do is create an event data store. It's important to remember that the way Lake works is that you're only going to start capturing events at the moment you create the event data store. I have a couple of event data stores here that I've created. One of my data stores collects both data events and management events. In this case, data events for S3, which allow me to track granular actions on S3 on an S3 bucket. So the easiest way of getting started is by going to the sample queries that we have out there. This is one of my favorite here. This will show the top aggregated APIs. One of the things I want to show you real quick is this is the structure of the query. So basically it's the very familiar SQL syntax. A lot of our customers know well. So I'm doing a select on a few fields. I'm doing a count here. This is the name of the event data store that I'm using. And then I'm giving it a time range of when I want events to be a query for. And then I do a little group by, and I'm going to go ahead and run this. And I want to show you how fast it is. As soon as I do that, I get a status here running, and it returns quickly 443 records. I can go to here, the query results, and see which one is the top API right now for that time range that is executing. Okay. Get a count and get a specific name of the service, name of the API. So with the samples queries, you can get started, manipulate them a little bit, customize it to your own needs. We have a few there. Our intention is to add a bunch more. But I wanted to show you a few other cool queries that you can do with CloudTrail Lake.
So before we dive into that other query, if I can just enjoy. So as soon as you create that data store, you're ready to start querying. There's nothing else to turn on.
Exactly. As soon as you create the event data store, we're going to start ingesting those queries. I mean, the data from CloudTrail that you can query immediately. Okay. But it's important to know that if you already have data on CloudTrail, that's not going to come into the event data store at that moment. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, so of course, as we know, CloudTrail has a lot of interesting data that for operational purposes and for auditing purposes can become critical. So this query that I have here will show me any sign-in attempts into the console. So you can tailor it even more for fail attempts if you want to detect those. So I'm going to go ahead and run this query and show you. It should take just a couple of seconds, but I'm querying essentially for the source IP address, any error message, and all the details about any failed.
Was this one of the sample queries, or did you write this one yourself?
This one, I built myself.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Maybe a good idea to add it to the sample query. Yeah. That's a good point.
That just seemed like something that people would want to see, right?
Yeah. So I have a couple of results here of, in this case, no MFA was used to log in with the root account. So I was able to detect that.
That's not good.
Yeah,
okay.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
One of my other favorite ones, I think is this one right here. So if a customer is using AWS config, all the events related to AWS config go into CloudTrail. So sometimes customers ask, oh, I would like to see a list of whenever a resource goes out of compliance and come back into compliance.
Okay.
Even an auditor can ask for that. This query that I have right here, it's a little bit more complex as you can see, but it will show you all that data. Basically, we are pulling data from the config APIs and including compliant to non-compliant status changes. I'm going to go ahead and run that query. You'll see it'll take just a few seconds. And when I get 729 records. Of course, I did a limited range.
Yeah.
I think I did like a few days,
Yeah.
but you can do this however you want. And in the results here, we can see all these rules and how they went out of compliance at a given point. You
Wow.
can pull all the additional data, like for example, what type of resource it was that went out of compliance, and the resource ID and resource name. So,
Tell you what's super interesting is you had a pretty complex query there, and it returned almost near instant real time.
Very fast,
right?
super
So
fast,
that
yeah.
is it's super cool.
yeah, this is a product we're very, very excited about. We can't wait to see what customers build with it. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I can see how, this approach of just create the data store, I can query against it directly, get those results, simplifies things, but does it simplify things for customers any other way?
Simplifies things, right?
In any other way for customers?
Yes, I mean, traditionally customers, to consume CloudTrail data, if you think about it and you think about the traditional CloudTrail service, the only thing it did is deliver files to an S3 bucket. Then customers were responsible for consuming that data somehow.
Yeah.
Some customers would use Athena on top of it and then query it like that. Other customers would use partner tools. In this case, everything is done for the customers. They can just come into the console and query things. The other interesting thing is we built Lake with the mindset of an entire organization. So as soon as you turn on the data store, by default, we're going to collect logs for all your accounts and all your regions. Actually, if you don't want to do that, you actually have to check a couple of options, right, to exclude them. So very easily, with very minimal effort, a customer can end up with a CloudTrail that covers their entire organization and all the regions.
Super interesting. Super interesting. I mean, this just makes it super easy to have this kind of visibility into your AWS accounts. Just be able to click one button, turn it on, and then you can just run some queries. I mean, this is really.
I can show you one more cool query. We have time.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
we have time, yeah.
Yes, we have time.
Yeah.
So a lot of our customers use pre-signed URLs on S3.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Right?
Yes.
It's a very common way of maybe delivering content and ensuring that it's authorized for the
Yes.
user, right? So if you turn on data events for S3 on CloudTrail on the event data store, you're going to start collecting all those operations. So this query that I have here is going to show you whenever a pre-signed URL is used.
Wow.
Whenever it was actually used to download the file. So this is what I'm doing here, select all from the event data store, and I'm doing an element at on Amazon expires is not null, which means the pre-signed query was executed and it was tracked in the trail. I'm going to go ahead and run that. It's running. I have a pretty, I don't know if you noticed, I didn't put a time range. So this is scanning my entire event data store at this time. And I got 634 matches. You can tell I use pre-signed URL a lot in this account. And I get all the details about it. The get object, where it came from, the agent that was used, a lot of good information for auditing purposes there.
Wow.
Super cool. So I see that you have an output in the console. Where else can this output be put? Or
That's a great question. So right now, you can actually take the data that that it produces and export it using the API, the SDK, or the command line tools. Currently, the console doesn't support export, but you can very easily do it through the command line, export to JSON, and then you can manipulate the data and use it however you want. So one interesting project that we did internally as a proof of concept was creating a systems manager automation document that we give it the query, it executes the query, and puts the data on an S3 bucket on CSV format. So
nice.
the automation document flattens the JSON, it makes it pretty, and then dumps it into an S3 bucket. So it's a lot of possibilities with this product.
That raises an interesting question in my mind. Can you run queries from the command line?
Yes, you can.
You can?
Yeah.
Ah,
So we have
okay.
It's a full-blown API that can be accessed through the SDK or the command line. The way
I'm
it
thinking
works,
PowerShell tools. It's like,
yes, yes.
for system admin,
Yes.
this is awesome from
It's
from a
awesome.
PowerShell perspective.
Yeah, and the way it works is that there's an API to start the query. The query is submitted to the platform, and then you get back an execution ID, and then you just query
Oh,
with the
you done?
execution ID.
Yep.
It gives you the status. When the status is finished, there's another API to get the results, and then you can do with those results whatever you want.
Awesome.
Yeah, asynchronous. Very, very cool.
All right.
Man, I can think of all the cool things you can do this. I mean, you can probably wire this in as serverless. You can use CloudFormation at some point.
Yeah. Yes.
this is just an awesome solution.
Yeah,
Very awesome
Yeah.
solution.
And one thing I do want to highlight about it, though, is the construct for billing on this is that it is just paid at ingestion, and it includes 7 years of immutable storage. So the one fee that you're paying, you get the
Covers
data
7
for
years of
7
data.
years.
Okay.
So no
Wow.
more S3 charges or anything like that to be able to store the data. And then you just get billed on the queries that you execute against that data.
Oh, wow.
So we're finding that it's extremely
That's. I can't even begin to imagine the scale of data that's tracking API calls through CloudTrail that's going into that. So 7 years, that's a colossal amount of data.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Wow.
when you think about a CloudTrail being multi-account, multi-region,
Region,
it's
yeah.
exponentially higher. Yes.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Mind blown.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Wow. Very cool solution.
Awesome. Awesome. How are we doing on time? Oh,
Yeah.
close. We've got a little bit more time. So, can you talk in any more detail about how the data is actually handled in the background? You know, without the secret source, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of the things that when this effort had to be done manually via Athena, via any other tools, one of the challenges customers ran into is optimizing the data so that it's easier to search from an operational perspective, from an auditing perspective. What we do in the back end is we ETL all the data for our customers. So we already formatted it and indexed it in a way that is going to make it easier to get these results that you saw here. So you don't have to go and build a glue catalog anymore. You don't have to worry about all that.
You have to worry
We
about
take
any
care of-
ETL at all. It's all taken
Exactly.
care of.
We take care of all that.
All
The other interesting thing to highlight about Lake is that the querying of the data is not dependent on the delivery of the files to S3.
Oh, wow.
A CloudTrail traditional trail has nothing to do with an event data store. So you can actually turn off your traditional trails in an account and
Oh.
just send everything to,
Just send everything to this.
Lake. Exactly.
Oh,
They're not related. So this is important because you get the data very, very fast to query. So in a scenario where you're trying to determine a security incident, like somebody's trying to brute force your root account or something like that, you can get results very,
Right.
very fast
Right.
instead of waiting for the files to be delivered, processed through an S3 bucket.
Yeah, that's like speed of the essence at that point, right?
Yeah.
That is cool. Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a couple of minutes left. Is there anything that you would like to leave customers with? Where to get started? We saw how to create the data store and go.
Yeah.
Anything else that you kind of want to raise their attention?
Well, I just want to say, take it for a spin. We love to hear customer feedback on it. We want to make it better. We're very excited about the possibilities of this product. So yeah, please do try it, turn it on. There's a couple of things I didn't get a chance to highlight. One of them is the fact that with data events, you have the ability of setting filters. So for example, if you want to use S3 data events, but you only want to track delete event actions, for example, which probably very, very critical, it gives you that fine-grained control over what events are going to be tracked. That has a big impact on cost because if you have a bucket with high activity that is doing a lot of reads, maybe you don't care about the reads. Maybe you're more interested on the mutating changes, and you can only track those. So yeah, but by all means, would like to encourage everybody to go turn it on. There's a free tier available for it, so you can take it for a spin, try it out, and tell us what you think.
You also mentioned there's a blog out about it, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's true, thanks.
Yeah.
A few months ago, I published a blog on the release of CloudTrail Lake, and it has step-by-step guide on how to get started, how to turn it on, so by all means, please check it out.
All right.
and that
Well,
will
thank
make
you,
it simple.
Andreas. Thank you, Brad, for joining
thank
us.
you.
Thank you.
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. We'll be back shortly.